The salty air of the Pacific Ocean whips around me as I step off the private jet, my boots sinking into the sandy soil of the airstrip. The tropical island sprawls out before me, a surreal mix of natural beauty and eerie foreboding. Palm trees sway gently in the breeze, their leaves whispering secrets I'm not yet privy to. A colossal Victorian mansion, painted a stark, imposing black, stands at the island's center. Its spires pierce the sky, resembling claws more than architectural features. The employees waiting to greet us seem more like ghosts than living beings. Their eyes are hollow, their smiles forced and lifeless. Each wears a red dress, a stark contrast against the verdant background. But it's the symbol on their uniforms that catches my eye, a stick figure-like man, ending in a C with spidery arms and a trio of iron crosses connected to its body. It's unsettling, but I push it out of my mind for now.
"Welcome to the island,"
says a woman with glassy eyes and a frozen smile.
"Please follow the path to the mansion."
The trail she points to is lined with logs, disappearing into the thick jungle. I nod and start walking, the sounds of nature around me only enhancing the sense of isolation. I've been on my share of secret missions, but nothing quite like this. The mansion's heavy metal door opens with a grinding of gears, revealing a face I recognize from our briefings, Mario, the head of security. His tattooed arms and dark Kevlar vest make him look like a walking shadow. He gives me a curt nod and leads me inside, past rows of hidden cameras and bustling security personnel. This is quite a setup, I comment, trying to mask my unease with casual conversation. Money is no object here. Mario replies.
"Security is paramount. There are things on this island that could rip the world apart if they ever escaped."
I laugh, trying to lighten the mood.
"Nuclear weapons or something?"
Mario's dark eyes flash with a cold, alien light.
"You'll see tonight."
The sun sets quickly, and the island is soon cloaked in darkness. We're ushered into the mansion's grand hall, where hundreds of the world's elite have gathered. Politicians, celebrities, and business moguls mingle, their laughter and chatter a stark contrast to the ominous atmosphere. I stand guard by a side exit, my AR-15 at the ready. The blood-red curtains on the stage draw back, revealing a naked woman strapped to an obsidian altar. My stomach churns as I realize what's about to happen. A man in a goat mask steps forward, holding a wavy silver dagger.
"Worthy is the Lamb,"
he screams, his voice amplified. The crowd erupts in cheers and cries of,
"Hail Lucifer!"
The woman's eyes meet mine, pleading, terrified. I want to look away, but I can't. The goat-masked man plunges the dagger into her chest, ripping out her heart. The crowd's roar of pleasure and excitement drowns out her dying screams. I feel like I'm watching a nightmare unfold in real time. Kalmek, a fellow guard with a thick Finnish accent, nudges me.
"Pay attention, new guy. You're not getting paid to watch the show."
I try to focus on my job, but the scene on stage keeps drawing my gaze. The goat-masked man pours gasoline over the woman's body and sets her aflame. The crowd goes silent, watching the flames dance. Then, something horrifying happens. The dead woman's body starts to convulse, her skin splitting open. A dark, muscular form with talons and horns emerges from her burning flesh. It's like watching a demon being born.
"Behold, Moloch rises!"
The goat-masked man screams. The crowd's excitement turns to terror as the monstrous figure looms over them. Moloch's fiery eyes skin the crowd, and I can feel the primal fear taking hold. Suddenly, the auditorium doors burst open, and a black-clad security agent runs in, panic in his eyes.
"Leviathan is coming!"
He shouts.
"We have to evacuate!"
Mario appears at my side, his face grim.
"We need to get to the South Beach! Now!"
We sprint through the jungle, the sound of crashing waves growing louder. The ocean ahead is no longer serene, a massive black whirlpool churns, drawing closer. Dead sea creatures float in the swirling water, a grim warning of what's to come. 20 security agents wait on the beach, their faces pale. Mario addresses them, his voice barely audible over the wind. Leviathan is a creature from the depths. It will destroy everything in its path. We must fight. A screech like nothing I've ever heard splits the air. The ocean heaves, and a monstrous green dragon head emerges, followed by 6 more. Leviathan, in all its terrifying glory, rises from the depths. Fire! Mario orders, and we open up with everything we have. Bullets ping off Leviathan's scales, but the beast charges forward, crushing everything in its path. One by one, my comrades fall, ripped apart by the dragon's talons and fangs. I backpedal, reloading as fast as I can. The beach is a scene of chaos and death. Retreat! Mario yells, but it's too late. Leviathan's head snapped down, silencing him forever. I turn and run, my heart pounding. Kalmik catches up to me, his face covered in blood.
We need to find the savior,
he says.
He's our only chance.
We make our way back to the mansion, avoiding the carnage as best we can. Inside, the auditorium is a charnel house. Bodies lie broken and bloodied, and the smell of death hangs heavy in the air.
Where is he?
I ask, my voice trembling.
There!
Kalmik points. A man in black robes, his face scarred and twisted, stands by a helicopter. His eyes meet mine, and I know we've found him. The Savior's green eyes, cold and calculating, bore into me as I climb into the helicopter.
Some people just need to learn the hard way,
he says as we lift off, leaving the island of nightmares behind. Below, Moloch and Leviathan clash, their roars echoing across the ocean. I watch in horror as the island is torn apart, knowing that this is just the beginning of something far more terrifying. The helicopter slices through the night sky, leaving the chaos of the island behind. The Savior sits opposite me, his scarred face illuminated by the dim cockpit lights. He's calm, almost serene, while my mind races with the horrors I've just witnessed.
Where are we going?
I ask, trying to keep the tremor out of my voice.
To a safe place.
The Savior replies, his eyes fixed on the horizon.
But first, we need to pick up a few more survivors.
The helicopter banks sharply, and I see another island coming into view. It's smaller, more isolated, with a single blinking light marking the landing zone. As we descend, I spot movement below, more people, alive and waiting. The rotor blades slow, and the helicopter touches down. The Savior exits first, and I follow, my heart still pounding. On the ground, a small group of survivors huddles together. Their faces are a mix of relief and fear, and I recognize a few from the mansion. A tall, muscular woman steps forward. She's dressed in combat gear, her expression stern but relieved.
Savior, we've secured the perimeter,
she says.
We're ready to move out. Good work, Alexandra.
The Savior replies. This is Richard. He's with us now. I nod at her, trying to muster a smile. Alexandra's eyes narrow slightly as she sizes me up, then she nods back.
Welcome to the team, Richard. Let's get moving. We don't have much time.
We move quickly through the jungle, following a narrow path lit by the moon. The air is thick with tension, and every sound makes me jump. Alexandra leads the way, her eyes scanning the darkness for any sign of danger.
Where are we going?
I ask, my voice low. There's a bunker on the other side of the island. Alexandra explains. It's stocked with supplies and has a secure communications link. We can contact the outside world from there. We reach a clearing, and I see a small, concrete structure half buried in the ground. Alexandra motions for us to stop and signals to 2 men standing guard by the entrance. They nod and step aside, allowing us to enter. Inside, the bunker is cramped but well equipped. There are rows of bunk beds, shelves stocked with food and water, and a command center with multiple screens and communication devices. The atmosphere is tense, but there's a sense of relief now that we're inside. The Savior gathers us in the main room. We need to contact our allies and let them know what's happened, he says. This island is still within the reach of Moloch and Leviathan. We must be prepared for anything. Alexandra steps forward, her expression grim.
I'll handle the communications.
She says, Richard, you should rest. You've been through a lot. I shake my head. I can't rest. Not after what I've seen. I want to help. The Savior places a hand on my shoulder. Your willingness is commendable, Richard. But we need you at your best. Rest for a few hours. We'll need every able-bodied person for what's to come. I reluctantly agree and find an empty bunk. Exhaustion pulls at me, but sleep is elusive. My mind keeps replaying the horrors of the island, the sacrificial altar, Moloch's fiery eyes, Leviathan's monstrous heads. I hear whispers around me, the other survivors sharing their own tales of terror. Hours later, I'm jolted awake by the sound of an alarm. The bunker is bathed in red light, and people are rushing around, gearing up for a fight. Alexandra is at the command center, her face pale but determined.
They found us!
She says, her voice steady.
We need to move! Now!
We grab our weapons and follow Alexandra out of the bunker. The jungle is alive with the sounds of pursuit, footsteps, rustling leaves, the distant roar of something inhuman. We move quickly, staying low and silent. As we reach the edge of the jungle, a figure steps out of the shadows. It's Mario, covered in blood but very much alive. Relief floods through me at the sight of him.
Mario, you made it!
I exclaim. He nods, a grim smile on his face.
Barely. But we're not out of this yet. There's a boat waiting on the other side of the island. We need to get there before they catch up.
We make our way to the coast, the sounds of pursuit growing louder. Suddenly, a roar splits the air and the ground trembles. I turn and see Moloch emerging from the jungle, his fiery eyes fixed on us.
Run!
Mario shouts, and we sprint for the shore. The boat is in sight, a small inflatable raft bobbing in the waves. We scramble aboard, Mario and Alexandra pushing us off as Moloch crashes through the trees. He roars in frustration as we pull away, the boat's motor kicking into life. As the island fades into the distance, I collapse against the side of the boat, my heart still racing. The Savior steers us towards the open ocean, his face set in grim determination.
This isn't over!
He says, his voice low. Moloch and Leviathan are just the beginning. There are greater threats out there, and we need to be ready. I nod, the weight of his words sinking in. The fight is far from over, and the true horror is yet to come. But for now, we have a chance to regroup, to plan, to fight back. And I'm ready to do whatever it takes to survive. The roar of the engine echoes across the dark waters as we speed away from the island. The night sky is clear, stars scattered like diamonds, but there's no time to appreciate the beauty. Moloch's roar still reverberates in my ears, a chilling reminder of the horror we've left behind. Alexandra mans the radio, trying to establish contact with our allies. Mayday, Mayday. This is Alexandra from the island. We are under attack and require immediate evacuation. Over. Static crackles in response. I glance at Mario, who's scanning the horizon with a pair of night vision binoculars. His jaw is set, his eyes filled with determination.
Anything?
I ask, my voice barely audible over the wind and the waves. Not yet. He replies, lowering the binoculars. But we can't stay here. We need to keep moving. The Savior nods, his eyes focused on the controls. There's a safe house about 20 miles from here. We can regroup there. Hours pass in tense silence. Every sound, every shadow seems to hold a threat. Finally, the radio crackles to life. Alexandra, this is Eagle. We've received your distress call. Coordinates for the safe house? Alexandra breathes a sigh of relief and relays the information.
We'll be there in approximately 2 hours. Over.
Eagle's voice is steady and reassuring. Copy that. We're sending a team to meet you. Stay safe. Eagle out. I lean back, feeling a glimmer of hope. But the relief is short-lived. A massive shape looms ahead, blocking our path. I blink, trying to make sense of it. A ship, dark and foreboding, its lights off, glides silently through the water.
What the hell is that?
I mutter, gripping the edge of the boat. Mario's expression hardens.
It's them! The cult! They found us!
The Savior accelerates, trying to steer us around the ship, but a spotlight flares to life, blinding us. I shield my eyes, squinting into the harsh light. Figures move on the deck, their silhouettes dark and menacing. We have to fight. Alexandra says, her voice steady despite the fear in her eyes. She hands out weapons, rifles, handguns, whatever we have. Stay low, aim for the heads. The first shots ring out, a deafening exchange of gunfire. Bullets whiz past, splintering the wood of the boat. I take cover behind the side, returning fire whenever I get a clear shot. The cultists are relentless, their faces hidden behind masks, their movements coordinated and deadly. Get down! Mario shouts, and I drop to the floor as an explosion rocks the boat. Shrapnel flies, cutting through the air. I wince as a piece grazes my arm, but the adrenaline dulls the pain. We can't take much more of this. The Savior says, his voice grim.
We need to take them out, now!
I nod, knowing he's right. We can't outrun them, and we're running out of options. I crawl to the front of the boat, grabbing a grenade. Cover me! I shout, pulling the pin and hurling it towards the ship. The explosion is deafening, a ball of fire that lights up the night. I hear screams, see figures thrown from the deck. The ship lurches, and for a moment, it seems like we have a chance. But then, out of the smoke and flames, a new figure emerges. Tall and imposing, with a mask that covers his face, only his eyes visible, cold, calculating eyes that seem to pierce through me. He raises a hand, and the firing stops. The cultists fall back, their movements almost mechanical.
Who's that?
I whisper, feeling a chill run down my spine.
Their leader!
Mario says, his voice low. We need to take him out. The leader steps to the edge of the ship, his eyes locked on us. He speaks, his voice amplified by some unseen device, echoing across the water. You cannot escape. The power of Moloch will consume you all. I grit my teeth, raising my rifle. We'll see about that. As I take aim, a sudden roar shakes the boat. I turn, my heart stopping as I see the water churning, a massive shape rising from the depths. Leviathan. The sea serpent's heads break the surface, each one larger and more terrifying than I remember.
Move! Move!
Alexandra shouts, trying to steer the boat away. But it's too late. Leviathan's head snapped towards us, and we're thrown into chaos. I hit the water, the cold shock taking my breath away. I struggle to the surface, gasping for air. The boat is in pieces, survivors scattered and struggling. Leviathan's heads loom overhead, ready to strike.
Richard!
Mario's voice cuts through the chaos. He's nearby, clinging to a piece of debris. We need to get to the ship. I nod, kicking towards him. Together, we swim towards the cultist ship, using the debris for cover. It's a desperate plan, but it's all we have. We reach the ship, climbing up the side as quietly as we can. The cultists are distracted, their attention on Leviathan. Mario motions for me to follow, and we move through the shadows, avoiding detection. We make our way to the bridge, where the leader stands, his back to us. Mario signals, and we move in. I aim my rifle, ready to end this. But the leader turns, almost as if he sensed us. His eyes lock onto mine, and I freeze, a chill running through me. He smiles, a cold, calculating smile that sends a shiver down my spine.
Welcome,
he says, his voice dripping with malice.
I've been expecting you.
Before I can react, he moves with inhuman speed, disarming me and throwing me to the ground. Mario lunges at him, but the leader is ready, dodging his attack and striking back with brutal efficiency. Mario falls, clutching his side, blood seeping through his fingers. "Mario!" I shout, struggling to my feet. But the leader is on me in an instant, his grip like iron. He lifts me, his eyes boring into mine. "You cannot defeat us," he hisses.
Moloch's power is absolute!
I struggle, but his strength is overwhelming. Just as I feel myself slipping into unconsciousness, a gunshot rings out. The leader's grip loosens, and he staggers back, blood pouring from a wound in his chest. Alexandra stands in the doorway, her gun smoking.
Get away from him!
She snarls, firing again. The leader falls, his eyes wide with shock. I collapse to the floor, gasping for breath. Alexandra rushes to my side, helping me up.
We need to get out of here!
She says urgently.
Leviathan is still out there!
I nod, looking over at Mario. He's pale, but conscious.
Can you walk?
I ask, helping him to his feet. He nods weakly. I'll manage. Let's go. We make our way to the lifeboats, moving as quickly and quietly as we can. The cultists are still distracted, their focus on the monstrous serpent attacking their ship. We lower a lifeboat into the water and climb in, rowing away from the chaos. As we drift away, I look back at the burning ship, the cultist screams mixing with Leviathan's roars. It's a scene of utter devastation, and I can't help but feel a sense of grim satisfaction. We've survived, but the fight is far from over. The Savior steers the lifeboat towards the horizon, his face set in grim determination.
We'll regroup at the safe house,
he says.
This isn't over. We need to be ready for whatever comes next.
I nod, gripping my weapon tightly. The battle at sea was just a taste of the horrors that await us. But I'm ready to fight. For now, we have a chance to regroup, to plan, and to strike back. And I'll do whatever it takes to survive. The lifeboat rocks gently as we approach the shore. The sky is beginning to lighten with the first hints of dawn, casting a soft glow over the water. We're exhausted, battered, but alive. Mario leans heavily on Alexandra, his face pale and drawn. The Savior steers us towards a small, hidden cove, nestled between jagged rocks.
This is it,
he says, his voice low.
The safe house is just up ahead.
We beach the lifeboat and help Mario onto solid ground. The Savior leads the way, moving with a purpose that belies his calm demeanor. I follow, my rifle slung over my shoulder, eyes scanning the surroundings for any sign of danger. The path is narrow and winding, cutting through dense underbrush. After a few minutes, we reach a small, unassuming cabin, almost completely hidden by the surrounding trees. The Savior pushes open the door, and we step inside. The interior of the cabin is Spartan but functional. A few bunk beds line one wall, a small kitchen area is tucked into a corner, and a large table dominates the center of the room. Maps and documents are spread out across the table, evidence of meticulous planning.
Get Mario to a bed!
Alexandra orders, taking charge.
We need to stop the bleeding!
I help Mario onto one of the bunks, and Alexandra quickly gets to work, cleaning and dressing his wounds. The Savior joins us at the table, his expression grave. We have a lot to discuss, he says, his eyes scanning the maps.
Moloch and Leviathan are just the beginning. There are greater threats out there, and we need to be ready.
We spend the next few hours going over the maps and documents. The Savior explains that the island we escaped from is just one of many sites controlled by a powerful cult dedicated to awakening ancient, malevolent entities. These beings, if unleashed, could bring about an apocalypse.
Our goal is to find these sites and stop the rituals,
the Savior says, his voice steady. But we can't do it alone. We need allies. Alexandra nods, her expression determined. I've made contact with a few resistance groups. They're willing to help, but they need proof of what we're up against. I glance at Mario, who's resting but still conscious. We have the evidence. We just need to get it to them. The Savior nods. Agreed. We'll split into teams. Alexandra and I will make contact with the resistance groups. Richard, you and Mario will stay here and keep watch. We can't risk being caught off guard. As the Savior and Alexandra prepare to leave, I sit by Mario's side. He's weak but determined, his eyes burning with a fierce resolve.
We've been through hell,
He says, his voice raspy.
but we're still here. We have to keep fighting.
I nod, gripping his hand. We will. We'll stop them, Mario. I promise. The Savior and Alexandra head out, leaving Mario and me alone in the cabin. I check the perimeter, making sure we're secure. The forest around us is quiet, the only sounds the rustling of leaves and the distant call of birds. Hours pass in tense silence. I keep a constant watch, my rifle never far from my side. Mario rests, regaining his strength. As night falls, the cabin is plunged into darkness, the only light coming from the faint glow of the moon. Suddenly, a noise outside catches my attention. I freeze, listening intently. Footsteps, faint but unmistakable, crunching through the underbrush. I signal to Mario, who sits up, his eyes alert.
Someone's out there!
I whisper, moving to the window. I peer out, trying to make out any movement. The shadows are deep, making it difficult to see. Stay low. Mario advises, his voice barely audible. We don't know how many there are. I nod, gripping my rifle tightly. The footsteps grow closer, and I catch a glimpse of movement, a figure, cloaked in darkness, moving towards the cabin. My heart pounds in my chest as I take aim, ready to defend our position. The door bursts open, and I fire, the recoil jolting my shoulder. The figure staggers back, but more are coming. I count at least 3, their faces obscured by masks. Mario grabs a handgun and joins me, firing at the intruders. Hold the line. I shout, my voice barely audible over the gunfire. The room is filled with the deafening sounds of battle, the air thick with smoke and fear. One of the intruders manages to get inside, lunging at Mario with a knife. I swing my rifle like a club, knocking him to the ground. Mario finishes him with a well-placed shot, but there's no time to celebrate. More are coming, and we're running out of ammunition. We need to fall back. Mario shouts, his face pale but determined. We can't hold them off forever. I nod, helping him to his feet. We retreat to the back of the cabin, barricading the door with whatever we can find. The intruders pound on the door, their voices a chilling mix of rage and fanaticism. Hold on. I whisper, my voice shaking.
We just need to hold on!
Suddenly, the pounding stops. The silence is deafening, a stark contrast to the chaos of moments before. I hold my breath, waiting for the next attack. The door splinters, and I brace myself, but instead of cultists, Alexandra and the Savior burst through, weapons at the ready. Relief floods through me as they quickly assess the situation.
Are you two all right?
The Savior asks, his eyes scanning the room. We're fine. Mario replies, his voice weak but steady.
But they're still out there.
Alexandra nods, her expression grim. We took care of most of them, but we need to get out of here. There could be more coming. We gather our things, moving quickly but carefully. The Savior leads the way, his movements swift and sure. We follow, Mario leaning on me for support. The night is dark and quiet as we make our way through the forest. The Savior leads us to a hidden path, one that winds through the trees and leads to a small, secluded clearing. There, a vehicle is waiting, a sturdy, all-terrain truck, its engine idling softly.
We have to move fast!
The Savior says, helping Mario into the back seat. The resistance groups are expecting us. We can't afford any more delays. I climb into the passenger seat, my heart still racing. As the truck moves off, I glance back at the cabin, now just a shadowy outline in the distance. The fight isn't over, but for now, we've survived. We drive through the night, the road rough and uneven. The Savior keeps his eyes on the road, his expression focused. Alexandra sits beside him, her rifle resting across her lap. Mario leans back, his eyes closed, but I can tell he's still alert, still ready to fight if necessary. As dawn breaks, we reach a small village, hidden deep in the mountains. The Savior pulls into a narrow alley, stopping in front of an old, dilapidated building. He turns to us, his eyes filled with determination.
"This is it!"
He says. Our first step toward stopping them. The resistance is here. We need to show them the evidence, convince them to join us. We climb out of the truck, weary but resolute. The building is unassuming, but inside, it's a hive of activity. People move about, their faces a mix of hope and determination. The Savior leads us to a small room where a group of people are gathered around a table, studying maps and documents. This is Richard and Mario, he says, introducing us.
"They've seen the horrors we're up against. They can tell you what we're fighting for."
I step forward, my voice steady despite the exhaustion. We need to stop them. Moloch, Leviathan, and whatever else they have planned. We have to fight back before it's too late. The leader of the resistance, a woman with steely eyes and a no-nonsense demeanor, nods. We're with you. We've been waiting for this moment. Show us the evidence, and we'll start planning our next move. Alexandra hands over the documents, and I recount our experiences, the battles we've fought, the horrors we've witnessed. The room is silent, the weight of our words sinking in.
"We'll need more supplies, more weapons."
The resistance leader says, her voice firm. But we'll be ready. This is our chance to strike back. The room buzzes with energy as the planning begins. Maps are spread out, strategies discussed. For the first time, I feel a glimmer of hope. We're not alone in this fight. We have allies, and together, we can make a difference. As the sun rises, casting a golden glow over the mountains, I step outside, taking a deep breath of the fresh, crisp air. Mario joins me, his face still pale but his eyes filled with determination. We're going to stop them, he says, his voice steady. We're going to win this fight. I nod, feeling a renewed sense of purpose. The battle is far from over, but we're ready. We'll fight, we'll survive, and we'll stop the horrors that threaten our world. Together, we'll make a stand. The Resistance's headquarters is a hive of activity. Plans are being made, weapons distributed, and supplies packed. The air is thick with anticipation and determination. We've finally gathered enough evidence, and our allies are ready to strike back against the cult. It's now or never. The Savior stands at the head of the room, his eyes scanning the assembled group. This is our moment, he says, his voice strong and steady. We've all seen what they're capable of, but we also know their weaknesses. Today, we strike back. Alexandra and Mario are by my side, their faces set in grim determination. I grip my rifle, my heart pounding with a mix of fear and excitement. This is it, the final battle. We split into teams, each with a specific target. The main objective is the cult's headquarters, a fortified compound hidden deep in the mountains. Our team, led by the Savior, will infiltrate the compound and take out their leader. We move out under the cover of darkness, the sound of our footsteps muffled by the forest floor. The path is steep and treacherous, but we move with purpose, driven by the knowledge that this is our last chance.
"Stay alert!"
Alexandra whispers, her eyes scanning the shadows.
"They'll have guards posted everywhere!"
We reach the edge of the compound, taking cover behind a line of trees. The compound is heavily guarded, with armed cultists patrolling the perimeter. The Savior signals for us to hold our position while he assesses the situation. We need to create a distraction, he says, his voice low. Something to draw their attention away from the main gate. Mario nods, his eyes gleaming with determination. I can handle that. He moves off, setting charges along the outer fence. Moments later, a series of explosions rock the compound, sending cultists scrambling in all directions. We use the chaos to our advantage, slipping through the main gate and into the heart of the compound. Inside, the compound is a maze of corridors and rooms, each one more heavily guarded than the last. We move quickly and silently, taking out guards as we go. The Savior leads the way, his knowledge of the layout proving invaluable. We reach a large, reinforced door at the end of a long corridor. The Savior motions for us to stop and listen. Voices drift from the other side, chanting, low and rhythmic.
They're in there!
He whispers. Get ready. We burst through the door, weapons raised. The room beyond is vast, lit by flickering torches. At the center, a group of robed figures stands around an altar, chanting in an ancient, guttural language. Their leader, the man we encountered on the ship, stands at the head of the group, his eyes glowing with a malevolent light. Stop them! He commands, his voice echoing off the walls. The robed figures turn, their faces contorted with rage. We open fire, the sound of gunshots mingling with the shouts and screams of the cultists. The air is thick with smoke and the acrid smell of gunpowder. Amidst the chaos, the leader raises his hands, and a powerful force slams into us, sending us sprawling to the ground. I struggle to my feet, my vision blurred. The leader's eyes bore into mine, filled with an unholy power. You cannot stop us. He hisses.
Moloch's power is absolute!
The Savior steps forward, his eyes locked on the leader.
You're wrong!
He says, his voice calm and steady. Your power is nothing compared to the will of those who fight for justice. The leader snarls, his hands glowing with a dark energy. He lunges at the Savior, but Alexandra and I intercept him, our combined strength driving him back. The room erupts into a fierce battle, the cultists fighting with a frenzied desperation. As we fight, a sudden realization hits me. The chanting, the rituals, everything has been leading to this moment. The leader isn't just a man, he's a vessel for something much darker, something ancient and malevolent. We have to stop him. I shout, my voice barely audible over the din. He's trying to summon Moloch. The Savior nods, his eyes filled with determination. We need to destroy the altar. Mario, still weak but determined, moves towards the altar, setting charges around its base. The leader sees what he's doing and lets out a roar of rage, but we hold him off, buying Mario the time he needs. The charges explode, sending chunks of stone and debris flying. The altar crumbles, and a piercing scream fills the air. The leader falls to his knees, his eyes wide with shock and pain.
No!
He screams, his voice echoing through the chamber.
You cannot defeat us!
In the chaos, I notice something strange. The Savior is standing perfectly still, his eyes closed, as if in deep concentration. A faint glow surrounds him, growing brighter by the second.
What's happening?
I shout, but he doesn't respond. The glow intensifies, and I'm forced to shield my eyes. When I look again, the Savior is gone. In his place stands a figure of pure light, its form shifting and pulsing with energy. The leader's eyes widen in terror.
No, it can't be!
The figure of light steps forward, its voice calm and serene.
Your reign of terror ends now!
With a wave of its hand, the figure sends a beam of light towards the leader, enveloping him in a blinding glow. The leader screams, his body disintegrating into ash. The room falls silent, the cultists staring in shock and awe. The figure of light turns to us, its form flickering.
Thank you!
It says, its voice echoing in my mind. You have freed me from my prison. The threat is not yet over, but you have dealt a significant blow to their plans. Before I can respond, the figure fades, leaving us in stunned silence. We regroup, taking stock of the situation. The compound is secure, the cultists either captured or fleeing. Mario leans heavily on me, his face pale but filled with relief. We did it, he says, his voice filled with wonder.
We actually did it!
Alexandra nods, her expression one of grim satisfaction.
This isn't the end, but it's a damn good start.
We make our way out of the compound, the first rays of dawn breaking over the horizon. The air is filled with the sounds of birdsong, a stark contrast to the chaos and violence of the night. As we walk, I can't help but feel a sense of hope. We've faced unimaginable horrors, but we've survived. We've fought back against the darkness, and we've won. For now, at least, we have a chance to rebuild, to plan, and to strike back. The fight is far from over, but we're ready. Together, we'll face whatever comes next, and we'll do whatever it takes to protect our world. In the weeks that follow, the resistance grows stronger. With the evidence we've gathered and the support of our allies, we launch a series of coordinated strikes against the remaining cult sites. Each victory brings us closer to ending their threat once and for all. But the memory of the figure of light, the Savior's transformation, lingers in my mind. There's more to this battle than I can fully understand, and I know that greater challenges lie ahead. For now, though, we take a moment to breathe, to regroup, and to prepare for the next fight. Because no matter what comes, we'll be ready. Together, we'll stand against the darkness and protect the light. The end, but the beginning of something much greater.